I mean, I like the way the example kind of lays out, but to your point, I'm going to take the content and probably post it on social anyways,
Yeah,
with my own spin on things.
yeah.
Um, what's easier to do? Like, what's easier for us to accomplish the book from a timing and storytelling perspective? Because I do like the way Ron's book looks.
It's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I did all the art. I did everything in that is me, except for the cover design. The page design I hired that out. But well, for you, I see it more as to me. I like the idea of different items, like something. I don't necessarily think the visual is necessary for you. I love the idea of there being 50 interlaced things that you're talking about, all of this sort of traced down to one common theme, and that's the theme of your book.
Got it.
So, but it doesn't have to be 50 or 40 or whatever it is. But like, I was going through our earlier conversations and some of the stuff that we talked about, the Simon Sinek stuff and the other stuff. And one of the things I thought was, what are the 25 biggest lies of business? Things that we tell ourselves in business that aren't true. Because I'm asking myself, if I was walking by a bookstore and I saw a book that said, there's 25 biggest lies in business, and then they had your picture on it with your name on above the fold, as we do with Ron's, I'd look at that. You know what I mean? So the question is, from my mind, is the format. What is the one unifying theme that we want to talk about? And then we have to sort of talk about those things, and then we have to sort of spin them in there. I'm looking for just a bit more, maybe, I wouldn't even say guidance, but just get your thoughts on it.
Well, I tell you what, like if someone were to ask me today, if I had retired, what did I hope I had accomplished and people would say about me is that I really focused on teaching. So, the accountability for a leader to teach and transfer skills, I think is critical, the leader developing other leaders. And there's just not enough of an investment in that. And so I'm trying to get my head around, how does that look from an aesthetics perspective for the book? I don't know. I'm trusting you on that, obviously.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
But to me, like if someone were to say, like, what are you most proud of? I hope at the end of the day that people that I've worked with and I could make that stand with proof points behind it, and so far so good, is that I developed other leaders and I developed them the right way, and they had positive impact on the people who were led by them.
So let me challenge this a little bit. Like if I was to say I want to sum up your career and everything, would it be, it's not about you for fuck's sakes?
No.
Okay. Would it be I'm looking for an inflammatory message.
Okay. Sorry. I thought, well, you're being real rude. I'm like, holy shit, Mike, you're being rude. I know it's not about me. But I do like that. Like, it's not about you for fuck's sakes. Like that's really at the end of the day what servant leadership is.
It's not about you. But here's the problem with it not being about you.
Well, it's going to be about me.
I know. We're getting this up in the third person. Confused. So, hang on. I'm just going to test my audio here for a second.
Yeah.
Turn this off for a second. I just want to make sure I get you. Because, I sound so nasally. Oh, my God. Okay. Here we go. Back on. Okay, so let's assume the title of our book is "It's Not About You for Fuck's Sakes." Okay, so let's just indulge me for a couple of minutes. So the book is called "It's Not About You for Fuck's Sakes," and my question to you is, hey, guy who just wrote a book, "It's not about you for fuck's sakes." What do you mean? Everything I'm doing is for my own self-interest. It's for my own career. What do you mean it's not about me?
Right. I guess it depends on the position of the reader, right? And you're right. Who's reading this book? Is it other leaders?
Yes.
And are we trying to teach them the story of like you've got to invest in others, and
yes.
and you got to focus all your energy there, and whatever happens to you, or is it in the eye of the person who's trying to be developed and grow? And then no, isn't it about me? Aren't I supposed to be getting trained and developed? Yeah, like that's the question, right? Like, how do you come up with that?
The easiest answer is, who's paying you? And the answer is people that own companies and that manage companies.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to buy your book to learn how to be a better employee. I think everyone's going to buy your book to learn how to be a better employer.
Right. I hope.
Yes. So let's operate from that position from now forward. So the person is buying your book.
But Mike, sorry, I'm coming back to one thing that I'm struggling with, and I'm being honest. So it's not about you, for fuck's sakes. Written by Mark Pettipaw of markpettipaw.com.
Yes.
Well, written by Mike Ulmer for Mark Pettipaw of markpettipaw.com.
Listen, you're the guy who said, fire me, fire me, fire me.
Oh, fuck.
Shoot me now. Shoot me now.
Yeah, exactly. My
Okay, you have a point.
Okay. Like we might need to find a different way about that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So let's.
But I like that aggressive, standout approach to get people's attention, whatever it takes, right? Because there is an inner part of me that's like, fuck, man, why don't people do this? Like, get over your friggin' self. And also, by the way, don't go out there and say what a great leader you are when nobody wants to fucking work for you. Like, just because you've got a strategic mind and you've built a good business doesn't mean you're a good leader. So how do we do that in a way that it, I don't know, accomplishes the same thing? Like, you know.
No. You're so right, Mark. And that is exactly what I'm looking for. That what we've just pulled out of each other is exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah.
I think that what we have to make the case for is essentially make the case for servant leadership on a dollars and cents basis. And so, because you're right, it is perceived as squishy. Yeah. And there is an awful lot. And I went through some of the stuff you gave me, but I like the Simon Sinek stuff. But, 5 concepts of leaderships or whatever, 5 pillars or whatever. Yeah. We've all read those books before, and they're very worthy and they're very worthwhile. I don't mean to denigrate them, even though I'm doing it. But what I really need is the case for how this puts the book I want to read is, what is the ROI in giving a shit?
Yeah.
And if there's an ROI in giving a shit, make me the case and show me how. Right. But if it's just that I have a nice epitaph, I don't give a shit. I have to get my kids through college. There's a pandemic going on. Tell me how this puts money in my pocket, makes me a better person, and it addresses my fundamental need for all the fundamental needs: respect, love, creature comforts. Tell me how this makes me better, benefits me, and I'll buy the book. If not, fuck off.
Yeah.
How does that sound?
Yeah, I like it.
You're a good sport.
Well, there's a part of me, right? So where I struggle with, and you're right. Like, I get it. I'm not naive. Like, to convince business owners to do what's right and lead their people properly so they can have better lives, improve their mental health at work. Yes, there needs to be a business result.
Yes.
And yes, there needs to be an ROI, but fuck, that shouldn't be your only reason for doing it.
Yes, it should be your only reason for doing it.
See, this is why you're writing the book, because I'm fucking angry at you for saying that. No, because I'll tell you why. Like, yes, and I don't care what order you put those in, profitability and your personal needs, and then developing your people and seeing them do well and their lives being good. But it can't be just number one. I mean, it can be for people, but honestly, Mike, those aren't the fucking arseholes I want to sell my book to.
Yeah.
Like, they just aren't. Like, I have no desire for someone to buy this book thinking, okay, how do I get more money out of the people that I have? And if that means being good to them, all right.
Now, I'm going to challenge you on that.
Please. Fuck.
Why not? Why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you want a dick like Mike Omer to read this and go?
Because the minute they go through a slump from another condition, like a friggin' pandemic or a market shift or a governmental regulation control
or new ownership
or an economic factor that's out of their control, well, what do? Well, they'll throw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, get rid of that servant leadership stuff. It's not getting us a return anymore because their heart was never in it from both positions. That's what I struggle with, man. And I know I'm probably wrong, but it drives me friggin' nuts.
Well, here's your choice.
Yeah.
You can preach to the choir, or you can preach to the world.
But I really I don't want to preach to anyone.
No, what I mean to say is, when you preach to the choir, you're preaching to the people that are already believers. They're the choir. They're in the tabernacle with you.
Yeah.
Do you want to preach to the choir, or do you want to preach to the world?
Yeah, you're right. Like if ultimately what we're trying to do is influence people to take the right path. Yeah, I don't know. I'm struggling. It's probably just a bad time for me to write this book, for us to be writing this book.
Well, based on what you've told me, I agree. But Mark, I think that if you trust me, I think the answer is to make a definitive dollars and cents explanation as to what, because we are motivated by self-interest. We're all motivated by self-interest. And the people that we're trying to influence are motivated by self-interest. We're trying to really explain to people why it's in your best interest to do it this way, whether you're the manager or whether you're the Cookwood employee.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's fair. And it's funny because if I talked to you about Lisa Larter as an example, one of the people that I look up to, she would be saying to me right now, shut up and listen to Mike, he's right. And I'd be arguing with her and I'd be on my soapbox. But
well, Mark, what I love about you is that you're an idealist, but you're not embittered. And to be an idealist, to remain an idealist and not be embittered by always being shouted down, by always being in the minority, by always being told that your ideas aren't necessarily practical or even realistic or reasonable, that will wear on anybody. And so it takes a great faith and durability and experience and track record to justify those things. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
Good.
That only took us 15 minutes to decide what we're going to talk about.
That's okay. I happen to have 100 questions.
Good. I probably have about 82 answers.
That's good. So let's start ripping off just stuff.
Okay.
Let's just start. I've got all the biographical stuff. You give me some last time we talked about the 5 anchors and all that stuff. I've got a pretty good idea how you do your work. I understand we talked about the get acquainted meeting, or the meetings that you and the goals of that first meeting with an employee and all that stuff. So I'm pretty good on your process, and I'm really good on your backstory. What I need is arguments. I need impassioned arguments. So I'm going to challenge you. You ready?
Yeah, I got those.
That's okay. That's all right. I am the stupidest man on earth. Explain it to me like I'm 6 years old. Okay?
Okay.
So let's start with this. The difference between the word leader. Is the word leader bullshit?
No. I don't think the word leader is bullshit. But it's like calling someone a doctor who hasn't gone to school for it a doctor. So imagine. Maybe that's a bad analogy.
It's okay. I know where you're going.
Like you get a title of leader sometimes because you've built a business because you're a smart business person.
Yeah.
Or you can be strategic, or you're the best in the group at doing the functional skill. So now you get promoted to the leader.
Right.
But that's not what a leader does. A leader develops others to be successful.
Is it like making you a doctor if you're a really good patient?
Huh.
Like, you're a great patient, you got all this right, you did really good. Okay, you're a doctor.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that's fair. I'd be hesitant of making that statement because I think it's probably not a direct parallel. Like I'm trying to think of the best way to explain. It's like saying that, well, let's take it back to sports. It's like saying you were an elite hockey player, so you're automatically going to be a great head coach.
Yeah.
Those two
Yeah.
worlds are completely different. The
Well,
hockey
that's
play, the hockey player knows the skills. They know how to play the game. They don't know how to teach others to play the game within a system to be successful necessarily.
that's why Wayne Gretzky wasn't a great coach. You know how many games Maurice Richard coached?
No, I didn't even. I'm embarrassed as a Habs fan to tell you I didn't know he coached.
One game for the Quebec Nordiques.
He did?
One game.
When did he do
One
that?
game. His coaching record is one game.
When did he coach the Nordiques?
I don't know. He coached the Nordiques for one game.
Really?
Shit, you not? Look it up.
I'm going. You know I'm going to now.
Coached Nordique for one game. Packed it in after one game.
Wow.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to ask about is
and part of that, Mike, is like part of that is what I got frustrated when I started to manage people. I knew how to sell, so why didn't everybody else?
Right.
And just friggin' do it the way I do it, and you'll be fine. And it's not how people learn.
That's suicidal for both parties, isn't it?
Right, because you learned it a different way, and you got there in a different amount of time, and there has to be a different way that it's explained to a different individual to achieve the same result because they have different gaps in leadership. And like I struggled with that because I couldn't understand why everyone wasn't as good as I was at selling. I know that sounds really, but it's true. As I look back now, well, hold on, I didn't teach that team how to sell. I didn't find out what they were resistant to. I didn't find out and get underneath to make them safe to say, I don't know how you do it. Show me, or like, this is how I, like, that is the gap between elite players and why most of them can't become coaches because they can't have any empathy for the other players on the team because they can't understand what it's like to be in their role.
I love it. Mark, are you recording this?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, because my card is full, so as long as I've got you recording, I'm good. Okay, so that's a great thing. Now, let me ask you something else. Did you want to make this book like sporting analogy? Do you want to leverage your sports experience, or does it matter to you?
Well, see, I don't. If we use sports analogies, it's only because of growing up playing sports, and I've always seen the parallel between the two. But I think it's a stretch to use my sports and entertainment experience because I was on the facility management side and the business operations side. I wasn't on the team side, right?
Yep, gotcha.
So I wouldn't want anyone to think, oh, he worked at MLSE. He must have been like almost a general manager. Nah, Mark can't dribble a basketball very well.
I got you. But you're a good number 6 to number 7 defenseman for ball hockey.
I was the best 8th defenseman on the best 7th defenseman team.
They say that being Simon Sinek says that being a leader, if I can say that, it doesn't mean that you're in charge. It means you're taking care
of those who are in your charge. Yep. I love that line.
You buy that?
I love that line. It's absolutely your job. The problem is when people hear that who are a little resistant to it, they think, oh my God, I'm going to have to do all this person's work and I'm not going to get to hold them accountable because what I'm there for is to care for them and make sure they're okay. You do that through setting them up for success. You do that by helping them develop the skills they need to be successful so they are safe in your culture and your organization. It's how people interpret, I think, sometimes, and everyone has a different interpretation of what Simon says. Sorry, that's what Simon says.
I gotcha.
Like, but that's the knock on servant leadership. Well, why should I have to care for these people? I'm paying for them. Well, no, you should actually care for them so they can succeed and they can win, and so can you.
So give me some examples. Like, what companies do this? Because what I'll do is I'll dig, and I'll get case study. We'll line up case studies to show you how this can succeed. I like doing the legwork. So,
well, from my experience in Canada, I would tell you, again, this is Mike, I'm going back, 20 years almost now. TELUS Mobility was really good at it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was at Mobility. I'm sure TELUS Corporate is very good at it. I would imagine that Bell is now, that Jackie Fu's over there in their retail stores. She's, I think, like vice president of learning and development or something. Don't quote me on that. Um,
Anybody you like from the academic world here in Canada?
Great question. It's funny, all the authors and books that I read and follow are all either American or European.
We're going to fix that.
Uh, I don't know. I struggle with that a little bit, like, because I'll go to like people like Richard by default because I've been exposed to how well they
Yeah,
lead. Um,
yeah,
but I just think in Canada, I'll challenge you with the same question. Who are the brilliant business minds in Canada today?
yeah.
What jumps to mind are the people who are on Dragon's Den. Well, again, does that make them good
So,
leaders? I'm not inside their organizations. That's not to critique any of them, but clearly Jim Treliving was a really good franchiser, and maybe he is a great leader. I don't know. Um, so I don't know. That's a difficult question to ask. Sorry, to answer for Canada.
so let me put it to you another way, and that is the millennial question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to come at this from 50 different angles, Mark. So the millennial question, because the millennials are the largest now demographic in the workplace. And there's a lot of going back and forth as to whether or not they're precious and have entitlement issues, or whether or not they're just demanding to be treated properly. And so you can make the business case, for example, since everyone's real. Okay, let's back up for a second. I'm going to give you the assertion that for most people, the problem isn't getting customers. The problem is getting talent to get the customers, correct?
I think I think the challenge is keeping talent to get customers.
Okay, great. And that means developing talent and getting customers. So are the millennials just saying, fuck you, I'm not going to accept this shitty deal anymore. This has got to be made worth my while. Because if the contract is this, if the contract is on the table, that I'm going to nurture you, I'm going to bring out the best of you, and then hopefully you'll stay, but if not, you move on. There is something in this for you. If that's the contract on the table, then now the demographic coming into that is tailor-made for that kind of social compact. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see I see millennials. You can tell I'm trying to think of something clever here, but bear with me. This will take a while too because I'm trying to think of something clever. But millennials are to leadership. You know what heart disease is to people my age. So what I mean by that is like because now we are exposed to all the risks and the severity of heart disease in our country. There's been a shift of people quitting smoking, taking care of themselves, eating better. There's a great awareness around the proper foods we should be putting in our body. There's a challenge to the four major food groups that we grew up learning about as kids in school. Um, all of that awareness has kind of brought out the need for a change in behavior, right? So
yes.
Now we know what's wrong with us, and it's one of the leading causes of death. And because there's education and it's in our face, and quite frankly, we challenge each other as a society. I don't remember growing up and hearing my parents' friend telling them to stop smoking.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing another adult telling my dad, "Are you putting another steak on a barbecue again this weekend?" Like, sure, eating a lot of red meat. Well, and I definitely don't remember them talking about who's going to the gym. Um, but look what we're doing as, 35 to 50-year-olds now. Oh my God, it's all over social media. I got to get active. Oh my God, I've got to challenge my diet here. Oh, carbs are the enemy. I'm not a dietitian, so but there's awareness. So it's focusing, change in behavior, and with that awareness, there's accountability because your friends are watching. It's not cool to smoke anymore. Like if you're a smoker now, that's not the cool thing anymore. So it's harder to stick with it because people are expecting a behavior change. That to me is the millennials to leadership.
Okay, so what about this? Would you buy a book that said, "They're right, how millennials are helping us fix our businesses and what you need to know to do it.
Damn, Skippy, I think you're onto something. Like, yeah, like here's an almost 50-year-old guy trying to give the millennials credit for a leadership shift we need to encounter. Yeah, absolutely. I'm all over that twice on Sunday because that's what's happening. You know, leaders are saying, oh, I can't keep the talent. These kids want to be promoted tomorrow. No, they don't. They want to be developed. They want to know that they add value. And guess what? You have to help them along that journey or they're going to find someone else who can.
They're right. How millennials are helping us fix our businesses and what you need to know to do it.
No, I'd even go farther. If you want to get confrontational,
yeah,
I'd say they're right. How millennials are calling bullshit on today's senior leadership.
And but we also need we need to identify the problem.
All right, I got to help them make. I gotta help them make them want to make the change, right?
But what you need to know to do it, because when you say like it's impossible. Here, it's very difficult to make the argument, Mark.
I'm gonna piss a lot of people off with this book. I'm sensing.
I'm loving it. I feel like we're making progress here. So it's very difficult to quantify. To find a stat that says servant leadership puts dollars and cents in your pocket.
I can.
Okay. All right. Good. That's great. But if everyone knows that the problem is attracting and keeping talent,
yeah.
And if everyone knows the millennials, this mystery millennial,
I'm with you.
Want something different.
I'm with you.
So what you're really selling is the code book for millennials.
Yeah.
Right.
by an almost 50-year-old.
What's that?
Brought to you by an almost 50-year-old.
They're right. They're fucking right, and we need to listen to them because when you do that, you address two things. You flatter the shit out of the millennials who are sick of hearing that they're babies. You challenge the existing status quo, so you get people to go, "Hey, is that true?" And you challenge that, and you give an indisputable fact. Their numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
They stay an average of 1 year per one year a job, 1 job a year. It's impossible. You cannot deny that if your business is about acquiring talent, you cannot deny that everyone's been doing it wrong, and these fucking guys are going to change it. That's indisputable.
Yeah, and your business needs to acquire and retain talent if you want it to grow and succeed.
Those facts are indisputable.
I like it.
That's where we start.
I like it.
That's fine.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm really happy about this too. I feel like we can hang up right now.
Yeah, are we done? Can you go make up the rest and like just send me the invoice?
No, I don't have to do that because we're only halfway through. Good. Now, this has been really good. So let's focus there. We'll gallop down that road, and if it turns out to be the right road, then we'll. But this is kind of what I was saying, Mark. Remember when I said the book that we end up with is never going to be the book we thought?
Yeah, I like it. And here's what I like, Mike. Like now, when we talk about the 5 servant leadership anchors, those are the core behaviors that I try and teach every client that I have. That if they just do those well and dedicate to themselves to those and break down the behaviors within them and teach all their people to teach all their people those things, their organizations will scale, they'll have a highly engaged workforce, and they'll retain their talent. It's really lining up really nicely.
Nice, yeah. So I thought about you, and I was sort of trying to visualize your book, and one thing that hit me is sort of because you're so structured and you have sort of an engineer's mind, is like a blueprint, like the blueprint. And it would be about that. Like it's about the blueprint to creating a business that delivers those sensibilities and capitalizes on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
The system, because you're very system oriented. You're very procedurally oriented. You've got that stuff really tight. It's
the reason I'm recording this on Zoom. It's on my laptop, right? Because the only thing I can do while I have the phone on. I just looked at the screen and made this look of like, no, I'm not. When you called me an engineer, because I used to be like, I joke about it. Like I think we've talked about this in the past call. I don't get up in the morning excited about process. Having said that, I do have all this stuff drilled down very tightly in a measurable, transferable, behavior-based process and program.
And,
Absolutely. I just
and
I
that,
just don't like all the other stuff around process.
well, I like this much better because now we're dealing not with instead of we start. I was saying to you, Mark, make me the business case for this, which is maybe you can make it, and I'm sure you're a very convincing guy. You can, but I much prefer they're right, and we have to fix this if we want to stay in business.
Oh, Mike, I love it. You know what? I haven't seen a book out there like that.
No, isn't it fun?
And you know what? It is one of my, I think we even, again, I think we talked about it previously. It's one of my things. It's one of my pet peeves is
Yeah.
like leaders who refuse to change to their audience when they're demanding a different style of leadership. Like how many businesses say, oh, you know what? My customer doesn't like lime lifesavers anymore. The data says they want cherry. Fuck it, we're staying with lime. They don't do that with their product. Yet, when it comes to millennials, here's what they're doing. They're saying, no, you're going to bend for me. Well, guess what? Good luck winning that fight.
Yeah, good luck winning that, and good luck retaining talent. Good luck staying in
Because they're
business.
going to find the cherry lifesaver wherever they can. They're done with lime, or vice versa. I can't remember what I just said.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's such fun.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you. You're preaching to the choir now, my friend.
Let's just do a video. Let me just post this, and we'll charge $19.99.
No, sir. You'll charge $19.95, not me.
I don't.
I am your muse. That's all I am.
All I want with this book, Mike, is to leave it with my clients.
Hey, did you notice in the Foxcroft book I didn't have my name on the cover? What do you think of that?
You got to put your name. You got to put your name on the cover.
You think so, eh?
Yep. Your name's going on the front of mine.
Okay.
I don't know how you do that as an author. Do you do like when you say it's an autobiography? It's again clearly transferring my passion and process to influence others to succeed in the same manner. But you're bringing this. So like, does that look like, whatever we call it by Mark Pettipaw and Mike Ulmer, like, or written by Mike Ulmer? Like, what does that look like? I don't care, but you've got to get the credit for what you're doing here.
Oh, but Mark, and I'm not trying to sound noble, but if it's with Mike Ulmer or it's just Mark Pettipaw, I want the reader to think you wrote every word. That's fine.
No, but I've been I've been sharing all this stuff on social media. The secret's out. I'm not writing it. I'm just talking.
Well, okay. Well, we'll figure that one out. Thanks. Ryan has asked me, and I said no, but I might change my mind about that. But
I absolutely want you on that book.
So let's start with this. What is the number one? Is it more important to have talent, or is it more important to have customers?
Is it more important to have talent, or is it more important to have customers?
By talent, I mean like employees, of talented people. Is it more important to have great people, or is it more important to have a revenue stream?
Oh, I think it's more important. Well, that's such a tricky question. You obviously need both, and you need customers to be able to hire employees. But over the long haul, your talent is more important than your customer. And like there are like 999 out of 1,000 CEOs who are gonna like lose their mind that I'm saying that. But if you have crappy talent, your customers are gonna leave you. And your cost of acquisition is going to continue to grow up, and your profitability is going to go down because you're churning staff all the time. They're not producing. They don't have the skills. They don't have the behaviors. So they can't satisfy your customer. So you're going to have to constantly replace your customer anyways.
Which is extraordinarily expensive. More expensive.
Right. And if you invest in strong leadership DNA within your organization, that it cascades throughout, those behaviors are going to constantly be improved. They're going to remain consistent in the eyes of your customer, and you're going to have less churn on the customer front. And you're going to have to do less marketing because your customer is going to continuously create the rebuy and the referral for you because you have the right talent. That is my stand on my soapbox till the day I die argument.
And of course, as you know, we talked about before, the cost of acquiring a customer is like 7 times more than the cost of maintaining one. So there's no question about that. The other interesting thing, this is in the Ron book, is that about 7% of family businesses make it into the 3rd generation. So you're talking like 20 years. When you think about it, if you're shitty, you wouldn't be in business. So arguably, you have a great product, and yet only like 7% of businesses go through the 3rd generation, and that's because of talent.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also because, not in all instances,
yes,
but in a lot of instances in those businesses that struggle, leadership is passed down, not earned.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Right? Leadership is passed down because, like I talked about, the manager becoming the manager because they're the best widget maker. Well, the sibling becomes the next owner / leader because they're the only sibling, or they're the best of the remaining 4 siblings.
Oh, I see.
And that's not a criticism. That's just, in all fairness to that individual who struggles with that transition, who's invested in those skills.
So, what's been your experience with the quote? Like, what's your experience with the quote millennial employee?
They are, well, here. Okay, well, it's a great question. I want to make sure because I could go on for an hour. I'm trying to condense it down for you.
I want you to go on for an hour.
What's my experience with the millennial? I gotta prove that I add value. It is. I never go into that situation thinking, oh, they work for me. I always go into that situation and say, how do I gain their trust? By showing them I can help them succeed. My experience with the millennial is they're saying, prove you deserve your title, buddy. They don't say it, but they don't buy in and give you the trust because you're the boss. They buy in and give you the trust because they know you can lead them and they know you're going to add value. So my experience has always been, I better be on my A game when I have a new employee.
So really, you're talking about the ethics of business. They're in essence, in their own way, they're far more in line with the essence of business that we understand them for. They're saying, "What's in this for me?" And that's the exact same language that the owner is speaking, the manager is speaking, the leader is speaking.
Well, and here's the simplistic part of it all. Yeah. You have organizations who say, I have 2 customers, the person buying my product and my employees. Now, that is a fantastic statement if you actually look to impress your employees as much as you look to impress your customer. We will change the world if enough customers tell us our product is broken. We won't change our way as leaders if our employees are telling us our leadership style is broken.
And of course, how do they do that? With their feet.
Yeah. See ya.
Yeah.
But have we ever gone to a customer and said, again, I'm going to use the silly lifesaver analogy. I'm not sure how lifesaver's got in there. I know you like cherry, but you really should like lime better. And if you don't like lime, go buy your lifesavers somewhere else. Even though everybody in the market's telling us we like cherry. Oh, but we won't do that with the millennials. How dare you? When I grew up, I had to work 15 years before I got a promotion, and I did what my boss told me. Well, guess what? That was the lime lifesaver, and everybody wants cherry now. But what you're doing is you're saying, no, go back to lime. Those are the good old days.
And of course, they weren't the good old days. They weren't the good old days. The idea, how many men died bitter alcoholics because they never reached their potential, or keeled over at 55 because they fucking hated their lives?
Now, are we counting Leafs fans?
Stop.
In that number, or?
Stop.
Okay.
This idea that there was this golden age. What golden age? There were no women. We had locked out 50% of our potential employees. Here's the golden age. First, half the human race, fuck off, we don't want you. Even though you're buying most of the shit, fuck off, we don't want you. Okay, let's start with that. And the people that we do hire are gonna fucking have you scared for your job every second, deny you security, deny you, and when our profits don't hit our targets, then we're going to fire you.
Yep. Or when we don't deliver the quarterly return to the shareholders, it's layoff time. Now, granted, our goal was 216 million in profits, and we only made 214. Well, the only way to get that $2 million to the bottom line back for the shareholders is to cut $2 million in wages.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Hey, it's just the way it goes.
So these are the good old days. So in chapter 1, the good old days weren't so shit hot.
I like that.
Because we told half the human race to fuck off.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's not going to wash anymore, right? Nor should it.
Yeah, it's funny because I always think like, yeah. Anyways, I'll hold that thought, but it just brought me back to my dad. God, the only thing I remember about my dad's private job when he was out of the military. And again, I mentioned he worked for a big engine manufacturer, a well-known brand across the world, which I don't want to put in the book because I don't want to slag them.
No one wants to be mad at Boeing.
But no, well, it was. I'm not going to say the name.
Don't say it because they could get up. Right, you're right. Okay.
I don't want anyone to get their back up. And again, I don't even know that it was bad. It was just a different. My dad took his lunch bag to work every single day is all I can remember as a kid. I don't remember him sitting around talking to my mom about how great his boss was.
Yeah.
Or how much he learned at work. I don't remember him talking to me as I became an adult about saying, hey, listen, like you're a manager now. We talked about that stuff all the time. Really important that you lead your people the right way. Like, no, you did your job and you shut up.
Yeah.
If you wanted a paycheck, you did your job and you shut up and you didn't ruffle any feathers and you did it well and you went home. It's just not that way anymore.
No, and it can't be that way because of, and I guess that to throw around the globalization word, right? When that Japanese delegation went to Detroit and looked at how they did it and came back and did it 10 times better, everything changed.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone uses globalization to say, well, these are shittier times. Actually, no, they're not shittier times. They're great times. But you have to be great.
Yeah, but Mike, how much of it on top of that is technology? Let me give you a perfect example. You after my last call said, hey, talk to me about some of the people that you read up on that influence you. When I shared John Maxwell and I shared Simon Sinek and Daniel Goleman, and I said, Noel Tichy, go look at Teachable Point of View and all those things. My dad didn't sit around reading business books.
Yeah.
He did his job, came home, had barely enough time to get the kids to bed, which were probably most mom and dads back then. But because of technology, millennials have access to that content more than ever. So I don't have to read the book. I'm going to watch Simon Sinek's 17-minute speech on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's going to empower me and it's going to influence me and it's going to change my expectation of my employer. Those are out everywhere now, and everyone has access to that information of what leadership should look like.
Oh, well, that's so good.
Right? And that's the accountability factor. And what some owners and executives are trying to do is they're trying to throw everyone back in the box. They're going to run out of people to put in the box.
You can't unring the bell, eh?
You can't. Great, well said. Yeah, you can't unring the bell. We're past that, right? And so I guess if you're 60 years old and you're a very authoritative leader and you want to run your company for 5 more years and you want to do the burn and churn, shut your mouth, do your job, or you're gone, you might be okay. You might have enough talent you can deal with to churn over the next 5 years. But if you're a 45 to 50-year-old entrepreneur or senior leader or company owner right now, you are not going to have enough people to keep in your organization if you lead that way anymore because they know there's better options out there. They know what leadership is supposed to look like. My dad didn't know what leadership was supposed to look like.
That's really good. Yeah, that's really good.
And so now you want to talk about a fight? You're not only going to be in, organizations are used to like, okay, where can I get my product at the lowest cost so I can protect my margins and we can grow the organization accordingly. Now it's going to be, where can I get the talent that I can retain longer than anyone else? I also think organizations are thinking, well, how do I retain talent so they don't leave me? No, they're going to leave you. At some point, they are going to leave you. These millennials will leave you because they are they are a generation that are looking for development, growth, impact, and involvement. And the minute those run out, they're going to seek it somewhere else. Your job
But
as a leader is to keep those cups full as long as you can.
oh, I love that. So, but if you give them those things, won't they stay?
Until they've run out of opportunity. So if you give them learning and you give, right, if you give them those 4 cups, and there's still there's still room left to add more to the cup, right? There's another learning opportunity. They're still growing. When they've run out of that, they don't stay anymore. They don't settle for that position when they know they're ready for something else. They go. And the difference being now is, if they're not getting any of those cups, they're not sticking around. They're going to go find it somewhere else.
So how do you convince business owners that, look, they're not going to stay, and that's okay? Like, how do you, there's all sorts of sports analogies, right? The least are developing players they know they won't keep. They have 2 or 3 franchise players, and they know there's going to be, so they attract and develop, and then know they're going to lose them. Should you hire, this is a large preamble, should you hire someone who you know is going to lead you?
Let me ask you this. Why were the Patriots, well, everyone's going to go Belichick, Brady, right? But why had the Patriots been able to sustain success for so long?
Stable leadership and a Patriot way of doing things.
Yep, they had stable leadership and they had a system that was proven, right? So even though they'd lose a big piece to free agency, someone would go, someone would leave for another team. They had a system in place, and they had the ability to allow everyone to succeed within that, because they were able to replicate that down through the entire organization. It's the same thing with leadership. If you are leading in a manner, which I tend to think servant leadership leads to really well, that is influencing everybody, because it starts with the owner, and then it goes to the executive level that leads that way, and then it goes to the managers, and then it goes to all the team members learning that way. When you lose one, which is inevitably going to happen, your bench is so strong that you just fill that role, and it doesn't have that impact. The thing where organizations get frustrated is like, oh, our best A player is a millennial, and now they want more, and if we don't promote them or give them a raise, they're going to leave, and if they leave, it's such a terrible day. No, you did your job. You set them up for success. They came to you and said, I need another challenge. You said, we don't have it. And you parted ways and you wished them well. And maybe they come back 10 years from now and they're your vice president. In the meantime, you got 3 other people going, okay, my turn to step up, my turn to step up, because you set that development culture from the moment a new employee enters the door. It's the same thing they do in successful sports organizations, which are the ones that fail after they win a championship. They brought in 1 A player who carried the entire team. They left for free agency, and the team bombed.
So the only way to be people-proof is to be people-positive.
Yeah, but
the only way to be able to withstand the vicissitudes of people leaving, talented people leaving, is to always make sure that you create talented people.
Yeah, so when you say people positive, this is the cynic in me, right? Because I'm now looking at the CEO reading it, who is could be. He's going, oh, that means I got to say it's okay, and everybody. I think the biggest misconception about millennials is they don't want any type of negative feedback. No, they want to be held accountable, and that is okay as long as you're developing them their skills and helping them build a career. You don't have to be, oh, just stick around, Gina. Hey, we got free slide Fridays, and we all have red martinis, and we're gonna have a big social piss up, and we're all gonna be friends. That's nice, but that's not what millennials want. They want a stepping stone to build a better life, and they want it faster than any of us have ever wanted before. What the hell's wrong with that?
Why do they want that? Why?
Because I am farthest thing from a psychologist that you're ever going to meet, or psychiatrist, or whatever it is. They probably watch their parents in front of them do exactly like my dad did. Carry the friggin' lunch bag every day. Get stuck in a role for 30 years. Well, now they have access to technology and knowledge where they learn they can have a different way, and they expect it. That's why they want it. They expect leaders to lead, to help them succeed in their careers and their lives. Period. And honestly, why is that a bad thing?
Perfect.
Right? I gotta tell you, I've lost many a millennial that's left me after I've invested all the stuff we're talking about, and they just leave. Okay, go get them. I wish you'd stay with us, but I don't have anything great. Go get them, and then I stay connected and I watch how they're doing in their career. And then we just got to make sure the system picks up the next person. It's like the farm team.
Yeah, it really is.
You gotta bring. You gotta. You're not sitting here going, "We're gonna win a World Series next." We want to win a World Series in 6 years. Don't worry about A ball and double A ball and triple A ball. Just worry about the big league team. That's not how the proper organizations do it to get success that can be sustained. They're constantly putting in program in A ball and double A, and it's all about a way of playing ball.
So what's interesting too is what's the post millennial? Like, what's the next? Is it Gen X was pre-millennial, millennial? I don't know what the next one is, but I wondered how it fall into that. The other thing is that, and this is an interesting management. I talked to Brian Burke about this. His thing was if I develop a talented person and they go somewhere else because I've got a friend on another team, right?
Yeah.
I've got someone who's still got my interests at heart because we've got a good experience in a comparable industry or another industry, or I have somebody else from my board, my informal board, or you know what I mean? Like there are benefits.
And it's I never approached it that way, but that feedback is bang on, Mike. Half the corporate roles I've got have been because somebody else went to that company and said something positive about working with or beside me. And most of my clients through my new business have come from either people who have worked with me in my role at other companies, like so they were peers but working with another company, or people that literally worked with me 20 years ago that are now directors and VPs. And they're saying, no, wait a second, I was influenced by that. So to your point of always having a friend somewhere, that's your role as a leader, as you're developing someone for success. And yes, the corporate selfishness in that is if I can develop people with that approach, no matter when they leave me, if we're all doing it, we should outperform our competitors because our people are constantly being developed. And if we're doing enough of it, it's just like a positive game of whack-a-mole, if I can say that. Like, okay, that person's gone. Oh, what's going to pop up next? Oh, there's some talent. Let's keep pushing that person up. And losing people is no longer such a big deal. The reason companies get pissed off at millennials is they've got all their eggs in one basket.
What do you mean?
Well, they have everything invested in that star player. And when the star player leave, it's a slight on the company. How dare they leave us after how good we were to them? Well, hold on. Shouldn't you be developing everybody the way you're developing your star player? Now, your star player's performance will grant them opportunity faster than the rest of the team. I'm a big believer in meritocracy. The best should get promoted at what they do, assuming they're ready for the next role. But you don't just, like, that's like saying, you know what? We're going to give Austin Matthews everything he wants, but we're not going to run practice with the rest of the guys.
Right. Because we got Austin Matthews.
What do we need? What do we like? It's a better example would be the Bulls. We got Jordan. Like, honestly, I remember growing up as a kid, and I love Scottie Pippen, and they went through their years of Rodman and Steve Kerr, and they had nice complementary pieces. But let's be honest, Michael Jordan would have almost beat anybody back then in his heyday by himself. But that's not the way they built the Chicago Bulls.
No, true.
They brought in all the complementary matching pieces, did what they needed to do to keep those people growing and learning and part of the success of the club, and off they went and won their championships.
And the other thing is that becomes your legacy. Like, aside from and I know I've been pitching this with dollars and cents angle, but this becomes your legacy as well. You want a legacy? This is your legacy.
But that's here. Here's what I would say to that. Yes, and it depends on what you want to be known for. And so where I'm trying to mature and become a little self-aware is get a little less upset with people who their legacy, they want to be known as a successful businessman or woman where they made a bunch of money and they led a good company. And people, they're a part of that, but that's not what they want to be remembered for. Whereas I've clearly been like, hold on, what I want to be remembered for is we won, so we got the results, but the team members got better every day we were working together. I want both of those things, right? And so it becomes, yes, what is it? What is your legacy and what's important to you? And I think, without sounding egotistical or like, you have to be really strong to do both.
Well,
and care about both.
I love the fact that you come at it from the view of an idealist, and I love that fact that every visionary is an idealist. You'd be indispensable if you didn't feel that way. I'm going to come at you like a what's in this for me, son of a bitch, and we're going to find it right down the middle.
Right. Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
That's where I need your help, because I still struggle with that. Like I look at successful business owners and I see like, if I'll just save my comments right now because it's still a little raw, right? Like I've seen successful people do it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's eaten people up. And quite frankly, they don't care. They think, well, I created employment for these people and they had jobs and they were able to pay the bills. So there's an argument to be made there, and maybe I'm maturing as I'm getting grumpier. Maybe I'm getting a little more grumpier and open at the same time. Is that possible? I don't know, but that used to revolt. I'm like, so what? You're rich, and so what? You got a really good business plan, and so what? You got a really good product, and so what? You've had a really good life, but you just keep turning people over because no one wants to work for you. But good for you. Congratulations. And the defense has always been, well, look at how many people I've employed. Why not have both? Why not have a really kick-ass business because you allowed people to grow their careers and you believed in leading them the right way? You can do both. And quite frankly, if people are better at what they do because you're leading them better, shouldn't you have a successful business?
Well, see, now. So if you don't mind, I'll cut us off at this point.
Oh, come on, fuck. What am I paying you for, Mike?
So on that note, I am going to bill you for the second invoice. I wasn't going to bill you until I felt really confident that we had a direction.
Yeah.
And now I'm confident that we have a direction. It's funny. Isn't it a magical process?
It's pretty cool. Like I can, and it's funny. You said on night number one, I've seen you posting on social media and I know where you want to go, but like, I'm not taking you there. It has to go there organically, right? And it'll end up somewhere great, but I don't know where that is, and you just got to trust me. And it's cool because it is coming back. It is somewhat coming back in an odd, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, in a way that we
roundabout way to what I want this book to be about.
I'm so thrilled. This is the part that I love. This is the part where we actually get, it's like the dance of the seven veils and you get to the third veil, right? You actually see, oh, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going. Because I love learning more about you, and the last interview was good, but I was getting frustrated because it hadn't shown itself to us yet.
Right.
And it showed itself to us tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah. Fun, eh?
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. I'm transcribing your notes. I'm forming the book as it goes, and we'll work towards this, and we'll get the time frame going. But and this will. The great thing about this, Mark, is that you'll start thinking about this, knowing you, and you'll start developing more thoughts on it. You'll start developing more content on it. So by the time this thing is out, this will kind of be your niche a little bit, and you'll be the guy. They're fucking right. The millennials are fucking right, guy. And
Yeah, that's cool. I
and
like that.
and that wins because it wins with the millennials who love you, and it wins with the people going, these fucking millennials. And how do I do this? Well, okay, I'm going to show you because they're right, and I'm going to show you.
And then the sad part is like we've missed a whole generation that could benefit from what the friction that the millennials are causing could have
Yeah,
benefited people earlier if they would have bought in earlier. But hey, it is what it
that's
is.
that's
I
that's
got
the
to
idea,
tell
listen.
you,
Yeah,
I like the idea of the five anchors, Mike,
yeah.
of being like maybe just a leaping off point to these strategies and
Oh, I
thoughts.
agree.
And, you
I
know,
agree.
like instead of just saying, okay, well, here's the five things you do to like better lead your team. I want to leave people with that. I want to leave
Yeah,
with them how to do it, but I want to talk more about the passion and the story behind the functional piece, right? Like connecting with someone. Why is it so important that an employee trusts you? Well, here's what millennials are looking for, and this is why
so
a connection meeting is so critical. How do you develop someone when you don't understand what they want to accomplish in life? And here's step
perfect.
number one. Before you ever do a one-on-one with an employee, you need to connect. And here's like, I'd love to see us come back to those
Yes.
five servant leadership anchors, and make sure that I give credit to the people who influence, because my whole career is just, it's like Richard Petty, best practicing, right? It's all people who have influenced me on these steps, and I've now taken them and implement them in my own programs. I really want a big part of this in my stories is the pay it forward part too, right?
Yep. Yep.
Like I want to talk about, learning the connection meeting at TELUS 20 years ago, and
Oh, and I
how
think
I've changed it and why it meant so much to me and why I think it means and why I've modernized it and why I think it resonates even more with millennials today than it did for me as a 25-year-old kid.
that's perfect.
Like
Yeah, but
I'd love to like anchor it all around that.
oh, I love. So we're giving the people the impression that this whole book was one continuous thought. That we sat down, and I'm not saying this to be a dick, but the idea is that everything has brought him in this philosophy, this thought, this leadership angle has brought him to this point, and it's this conclusion. They're fucking right. The millennials are fucking right. And then as you say, we circle back with all the practices that you're talking about. I will caution you one thing though. This book is not about thanking the people that were good to you. Someone is spending $20 on this book. Okay, $20
Yeah.
of their hard-earned money. They don't give a shit if Richard Petty was good to you. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not your book; it's their book. You're in service of the reader, not the people that have been good to you.
Okay, fair enough. I guess maybe I overstated that I wanted to tell this. I would like to make sure we do the recognition piece.
Oh, absolutely.
Like even
Yeah,
if just
absolutely.
like,
Yep,
influenced by so and so at this, because
absolutely.
I think it's important. um I do this on social media. Like I it's consistent with who I am, Mike, and even my podcast. It's about making sure people understand that someone took the time to teach me this stuff,
Yep,
and it's my responsibility to show you if you haven't been exposed to it. And don't you forget, whatever you learn from this is just passing it on, and you owe a responsibility to whoever reports to you to lead the same way. Does that make sense?
it does, and I think the pay it forward philosophy is really in keeping. And I like the idea of having sidebars, just like down 5 pages about Richard and what he taught you, about this guy, what he taught you, about that guy, what he taught you. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah, I like
You know?
that. I'm gonna
And
let
I
you
think
do
that
your
makes it
thing.
really germane to it. I just want to remind you that when you make content, you're making it for yourself. When you create a book, you're asking someone to give you $20. And so, and that has to be the consideration. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, no, I hear you. And again, yes, I hear what you're saying, because at the end of the day, someone is paying $20 or whatever it's priced. Like, but I'm really not fussed with getting $20 from someone.
I am. I'm fussed with you getting $20 from someone. I love the idea of you getting $20 from someone.
I
I
want
want this
I
book to
want to
pay for
leave.
itself.
I really want to leave behind for my clients. Like I can't stress that enough.
Yeah,
Um, but yes, I do want something that people would go, "Oh shit, I heard about that. I should get it," and
yeah.
expose more people to it. Yes, absolutely. But like, if I sell 500 copies at $20, do I care about 10 grand? Not really.
Yep. Well, see, this is why you're such a great client, Mark. It's not going to be. It's going to be the idea is that you can, with your social media reach, and you put this book on Amazon, you're going to sell more than 100 books. You're going to sell, I think, I can't say, but we're going to write a really great book, and you've really got a great message, and you have a great social media, you have a great network and a great social media. You're as good as anyone I know at leveraging your social media. It's not going to be a couple $100, Mark.
Hey, listen, don't get me wrong. I would love to sell hundreds of thousands of books if they were getting into the hands of someone who read it and said, you know what, I can be better at this.
Yep.
That I'm all over that, because if that would be 10 million people, I'm all over that. But it's not, hey, let's sell a book to add to the revenue stream, right? I'm just looking for the next contract from my clients who believe in this stuff and want to implement it.
Oh, I'm so excited. Well, listen, thanks for this tonight. I'm going to cut it off at that. This has been so much fun. I've really super enjoyed it. This is the charge I get from it, with working with great people. So thank you.
That's awesome. Hey, Mike, can I just leave you with one thing?
No, but if you must, go ahead.
Okay, good. The one thing we haven't talked about is the functional skill on the sales side.
Tell me about that.
Well, I just feel like in a lot of organizations, we hire someone to do sales.
Yeah.
And we give them a list and we say, go call these people. And similar to the whole idea about training leaders, the behaviors they need to lead, the sales world is so underserviced with that right now, because everybody wants CRM to do the selling.
Right.
They don't understand CRM's still a tool for a sales professional who needs to be given the skills and the behaviors to understand a client, best position those clients' needs, align with what they do, and differentiating themselves from everyone else. There's a whole really shitty gap in the sales world, and it's going to a very bad place. And it alarms me. So I don't know if we work this into the book, or maybe you and I are doing another project one day, but like, you know it, if you're on LinkedIn, you can smell it a mile away when you get those connections requests.
Yeah.
And you know from the first 3 lines, like, hey, I was visiting your profile and noticed you're in business coaching. I would like to learn more. And then you go back to your profile. They didn't look at your profile at all. They have no connections that you have. All they're doing is selling you because someone gave them an automated system that said, if you send out 1,000 of these, 3 people will respond and you will get a 0.3 conversion rate, which will equal X in revenue. And it's doing a whole profession a large disservice. I fucking want to talk about that at some point because it's pissing me off.
Well, I think that's, to me, that's not a separate book, certainly. I don't even see it in this book, but I think it's spectacular content. Like,
so
we have,
what are you trying to say?
We have to figure out how to leverage that, because I think that's really smart. I don't see it in the book that we just talked about.
Yeah.
But it's terrific content. I think it's a great idea. And I haven't heard it before. I don't know that it fits in this book.
Jeez,
Whose book is it anyway, Mark? That's what you're probably thinking right now. Whose fucking book is this? Who's paying you?
Am I paying you, or are you paying me?
Who's paying you?
No, hey, listen, man, this is why I picked you. I love it. I love that you challenge me, and you're absolutely helping me out. But most importantly, you let me vent first, and then you tell me I'm wrong.
Well, that's the married way.
That's awesome, dude. Okay, well, we'll save that soapbox for another day.
Oh, this has been so much fun. Thanks. You made my day. You really did.
Same. Okay, well, same time, same place, or do you want to send it?
Yep. That's all good. Next week, next Monday.
I'll just resend the invite to you with the same information.
I'll start doing some work, going through our stuff, and we'll start. Now we have direction. Now it gets to be fun. Now the blindfolds are off. Now it gets to be fun.
Were you not having any fun before? Was I really that bothersome?
No, I was frustrated because I didn't think I was giving you the right value. I didn't think that I was taking you to the right place.
Well, keep in mind, I own part of that problem. It takes me a little while to get over myself and my passion in some of this stuff. And what I mean by that is, it's to get it narrowed down, right? Like I've tried to do that with my business to keep it really simple on what I do. But when you start to get me talking about leadership, I just kind of jump all over the map in regards to this. But yet when I train it, it's 5 simple steps.
Well, see, that's the best combination, and that you give an expansive, powerful, emotional appeal in the book with the processes, and then you deliver the processes. You don't have to go over it. Like, when you deliver on this, it's not going to be 45 minutes while the millennials are right. It'll be 5 minutes on when the millennials are right, and 40 minutes on what to do about it.
Yeah.
Because you've had your piece already. That's what the book's for.
Love it. I love it.
Me too. But thanks. Let's do it next week.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, man. See ya.
See ya.